I feel like I'm doing a documentary right now because I have all of these lights. And I guess you could say I am because I'm going to tell you how my husband and I got into $65,000 of debt and how we got out of it in less than a year. As a type A girly, I appreciate structure, so I will try to go in chronological order. In 2023, my husband and I decided to move to the US. And even though it was his first time here, it wasn't mine. I lived here from age 9 to 24, and I went to school here. And I'm telling you this because it plays a part in our debt. And when we moved here, our number one goal was to save a 1 year emergency fund for ourselves, so we weren't focused on paying off any debt. And truly, the only debt we had at the time were my student loans, which were about $33,000. And I wasn't paying them back because at that time they were frozen, so I didn't technically have to. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was kind of hoping they would be forgiven. We know how that went. And in August, my husband finally found a job through our Bulgarian community. Now, the thing about my husband is he's a new immigrant here, so he doesn't have any education or any experience. So it's really difficult for him to find a job. But luckily, we were able to find something. The only problem was it was 1 hour away from the city, meaning we needed to get a car. We had to sit down and have conversations about this car and what we wanted to do. Do we want to buy a new car, just one, and keep it for as long as we possibly can? Or do we just take a risk, buy something more used, and maybe deal with it if it breaks down the road? And we decided to get a new car. But we were reasonable. We got a Honda Civic, but in any case, cars are really expensive, so it ended up costing us $32,000. In all actuality, the car wasn't that big of a deal. The rate was 3.9%. We got a term of 4 years, so 48 months. And we knew we could just make the minimum payments and pay off the car eventually, and then just have one really good car for a very long time. And as luck would have it, in October, I had to start making payments on my student loans. So I started doing that. Now, here comes December, and at this point, I'm incredibly bored at my job. We're not doing anything creative. And so I start complaining to my husband, and he goes, babe, why don't you like post on social media because you've always wanted to? Maybe this could be like your creative outlet. And I was like, that is a great idea. Let me start posting on TikTok. And so I started making videos, and it was literally just for fun. I was talking about why we moved to the US, money stuff, debt stuff, nothing really that controversial, just what's going on in my life. But one day in January, as I sat down to have lunch, I turned on my camera because I wanted to rant about something. Here are the things my husband and I are doing to live on one income and use the other income to pay off debt and invest. The most important thing is we live in a studio apartment. The shock. The shock. I know. Shocking. Tiny, tiny apartment for two people. But you know what? It's honestly not that big of a deal. And the less space you have, the less crap you're gonna buy. So, works for us. And as luck would have it, that video struck a chord with a lot of people. In fact, 4.5 million people. I don't know if it was the beginning of the year, or people were just focused on money, or there was something specific about that video that really resonated with people, but truly it took off. And when I saw the traction, I immediately jumped on the opportunity. I started creating videos related to that video. So I started talking about our bills, what it's like to live in the city, why we have debt, how we're getting out of debt, how we're investing, what we're doing. And truly, people loved it. In a matter of 1 week, I went from 1,000 followers to 10,000 followers. And if you know anything about TikTok, after 10,000 followers, you can start monetizing your channel and start getting paid for views. I was having so much fun creating content and making a little bit of money. It was $100 here, $100 there was more than enough for me. And then February came and my husband was laid off. So not only did we lose one income, but we also lost the job that made us get the car in the first place. But hey, we took the risk and that was fully on us. My husband is also a very creative person like me. He loves acting, he loves theater, he loves cinema, he loves filmmaking. And the fact that he was working in logistics was absolutely destroying him. So that's when we had to have a really serious conversation about what we wanted to do next. I'm a senior content designer and I work in tech and I make really good money, more than enough for both of us to live. So we decided for him to take some time off for us to figure out how to get him some education here in the US, get him some experience in the US so he can make some type of a career transition where he wasn't working in logistics anymore. As all of this is happening, my social media is also starting to grow. So I'm starting to make more money from TikTok. So instead of making $100, I'm making $300. $400. And as my account is growing, brands start reaching out to me and asking me if I want to do paid videos where I make a video for them and they pay me. So of course I jumped on that as well. But in April, something significant happened and I created and started selling my first digital product. I was using a budgeting template so me and my husband can track all of our spending so that way we can pay off our debt faster. And as I was showing it in my videos, people kept asking me, can they buy it? Where can they get it? So I decided to turn it into a template and sell it. And any money I would make from the template, I would just put towards our debt. So from January to April, I was making about $200, $300, $400 every single month. But once I started selling my budgeting template, I was making $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month. And I was able to use all of that money to put towards my student loans. And as soon as I paid off the high interest student loans, which were about 7, 8%, I was able to shift gears to the car. Now, I knew that the car payments would be significantly more controversial for people than the student loan payments, but I didn't care. I was going to put my business out there. So I did, and I was right. Those videos took off. People had so many opinions about my car debt that every single video that I posted about making a payment to my car was in the millions. And surprisingly, because so many people were watching them, I was literally making enough money to cover my car payments from the car payment videos. It was crazy. And with that, I was able to pay off our car really quickly. So then I shifted gears back to the student loans. And during this whole time, my account kept growing. So I was getting more brand deals, more template sales, and more views. So I pretty much paid off the student loans in 2 massive payments, which was amazing. And I know the story is kind of wild, and you might say, well, this is not really replicable because not everybody can do this. And you're right. But I thought the same thing. And I know other people that were able to do it as well. So if you like social media and you've always wanted to be on social media, hopefully this can inspire you or motivate you to start in 2025. This is my first YouTube video. I went from TikTok to Instagram and now to YouTube. So we all start somewhere. So please don't think that you can't do it too. And if you're watching this video, chances are you have debt as well. So I want to give you a few tips if you're trying to pay off your debt this year. I know it can be really difficult to talk about debt and to talk about money, and you can feel a lot of shame around it. However, the more you talk about it and the more you bring it to light, the lighter you will feel. So you need to sit down, write all of the debt balances you have and their interest rates so you can see what you're actually working with. Once you do that, look at all of the debts and see if you have high interest debt. Anything over 10% has got to go. The next step, a lot of people might not agree with, but I'm going to tell you, you need to be slightly obsessed with your numbers, meaning you have to track everything. How much money is coming in? How much is going out? Because if you don't know how much money you actually have to play with, then how can you possibly put extra money to the debt? If you say you don't have any money left over at the end of the month, then you've got 2 problems. One, either you're not really being honest with yourself and you're spending more money than you need to be, or 2, you're truly not making enough. And if that's the case, you need to get side hustles, get a different job, something that's going to bring extra money. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to pay it off. And finally, you have to be honest with yourself and commit to yourself. If you start bringing in more money, you have to promise yourself that you will put that money to the debt and not spend it on dumb stuff. Treat your debt like a bill. On the first, it's due. You have to pay it, and not the minimum payment. I mean, actually pay a big chunk of money to it. If you let that money linger in your account, chances are you will spend it. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. Maybe my journey inspired you or the tips helped you in some way. And if they did, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel because I plan on posting every week or every other week. Maybe I shouldn't commit this quickly, huh?